High above, deep below, invisible forces that move us. High up in the air, turbulence stirs the skies, unseen yet felt. It shakes planes, redirects birds, and reminds even the most sophisticated technologies that nature still holds the reins. Beneath the sea, invisible currents swirl and shift, moving entire ecosystems, steering the paths of mighty whales and microscopic plankton alike. These forces, airborne and aquatic, are not seen, only experienced in their effects. They exist within their own realms of cause and consequence, following laws that elude casual human awareness. And yet they govern movement, mood, direction, and survival. In a similar vein, the surface of human society is not as stable as it seems. Beneath the apparent calm of daily life lie ideological undercurrents and cultural turbulences. Trends rise and fall like waves. Movements ripple through societies with invisible momentum, and the average person is often swept along, unconscious of the deeper origins of their thoughts, desires, habits, and identities. In the same way an aircraft is jostled by wind patterns it cannot see, humans are buffeted by unseen agendas, narratives, and social pressures that shape their inner and outer landscapes. At sea level, where human life is lived, in cities, homes, screens, and minds, we exist in a theater of manipulation so seamless we often do not recognize we are characters in it. Just as weather patterns and oceanic flows are influenced by natural phenomena and human intervention, so too is the human soul subject to both divine order and man-made disorder. Big corporations, global institutions, media conglomerates, and governments are the airplanes and cargo ships of this metaphor, large actors that disrupt the natural flow of life. They do not merely transport goods and people, but ideas, ideologies, and belief systems. And in doing so, they reshape the invisible currents that shape the human condition. Like turbulence in the upper skies, social and ideological trends come quickly and without warning. They disturb what once felt steady, forcing recalibrations of thought, identity, and community. In past centuries, such cultural shifts took generations. Today, they occur with the velocity of a tweet. What is normal today can become offensive tomorrow, and what was once controversial can be celebrated overnight. The air we breathe is no longer merely composed of oxygen and nitrogen. It is thick with propaganda, subtle messaging, emotional programming, and worldview construction. The turbulence here is psychological, emotional, spiritual. We are asked to pledge allegiance to ideas we barely understand, to support movements whose origins we never research, to cancel people without examining evidence, and to fear what we are told to fear. These ideological turbulences are not spontaneous, they are engineered. Just as turbulence can be triggered by man-made aircraft cutting through layers of the sky, so too are societal upheavals stirred by powerful interests flying above the masses. The cultural elite, media institutions, think tanks, and entertainment empires are aircrafts emitting ideological exhaust into the atmosphere, and the common person, like the passenger in economy class, is tossed by forces they neither see nor control. Beneath the surface, the ocean's undercurrents carry silent power. They determine migration patterns, shape coastlines, and influence the climate itself. So too there are deeper, slower-moving forces within humanity, belief systems, values, family structures, and moral codes. These are not flashy, but foundational. They determine where a society is headed decades before its visible trajectory changes. Currents shift quietly through education systems, policy reforms, advertising, entertainment, and mass psychology. The movement to normalize certain behaviors, redefine gender, reframe morality, or erode faith-based thinking does not happen overnight. It begins in the depths. Curricula are redesigned, terminology is updated, language is policed, and slowly, like warm currents changing a coastline, human nature itself is reshaped. The soul, once grounded in spiritual purpose and divine accountability, becomes adrift in an ocean of relativism. The most dangerous thing about these currents is their invisibility. Like riptides, they pull without warning. A person may not even know they are being dragged from their original coordinates. They may still believe they are free, sovereign, and moral, while everything they believe and value is being subtly redefined. Just as ships cause ripples and planes disturb air layers, the large institutions of our time disturb the natural ecology of the soul. Corporations like Meta, Google, Pfizer, Apple, and Disney are not merely companies. They are vessels loaded with ideological cargo. Through data, media, pharmaceuticals, entertainment, and consumerism, they deliver carefully packaged narratives that alter the mind, body, and heart. Governments, too, while claiming to protect and serve, often serve agendas that go far beyond public interest. They form alliances with corporate powers, outsource thinking to media, and weaponize fear to maintain control. And media outlets? They are the wind instruments of this orchestra, playing emotionally charged notes that stir anxiety, envy, tribalism, division, or blind trust. These actors are not neutral. Just as a cargo ship leaks oil or disrupts marine life, these systems leave residue in the collective human psyche. The pursuit of beauty becomes obsessive, identity becomes fractured, self-worth becomes algorithmic, faith becomes optional, pleasure becomes a right, truth becomes subjective. These are not natural developments, they are engineered results. Just as the earth beneath us can quake, rupture, or shift tectonically, there are moments when humanity experiences collective spiritual tremors. A war, a pandemic, a financial collapse, or a cultural breaking point can expose how fragile our civilizations really are. These are moments when illusions crack and underlying truths are exposed. Earthquakes remind us that we are not in control. So do societal disruptions. When power grids fail, when governments fall, when supply chains break, or when economies crumble, we remember that beneath the polished surface lies a far more primitive reality. The Earth's movements parallel our own instability. No matter how advanced we claim to be, we remain vulnerable, finite and dependent on resources, on nature, and ultimately on God. In these moments, some awaken. They begin to question the system. They ask, who built this world? Why are we living like this? What does it mean to be truly free, truly human? While the forces mentioned above operate in the external world, their most profound impact is internal. The human heart, mind, and soul, the core of one's being, are where the real battle takes place. When a person lives in a culture of fear, they internalize anxiety. When they are surrounded by hypersexualized media, they develop addictions and distorted desires. When consumerism is preached as salvation, they believe more things mean more happiness. When ideologies replace truth, they become unanchored, skeptical of all morality. The soul becomes disoriented. And yet, many are unaware of this transformation. They assume their mood swings, depression, existential dread, or spiritual dryness is personal, when in fact, it is systemic. They are breathing poisoned air and drinking polluted water, metaphorically speaking. The media they consume, the language they speak, the goals they pursue, all have been subtly hijacked. This is not accidental, it is strategic. Those who control the airwaves control the emotions. Those who control the narratives control the thoughts. Those who control the ideologies control the soul. Originally, human beings were meant to live in sync with divine design, Fitra. Just as birds migrate with the seasons and trees bear fruit in cycles, man was meant to live with rhythm, worship, reflection, family, contribution, and growth. But the modern system has severed man from this rhythm. Time is now measured in productivity, not prayer. Success is measured in wealth, not wisdom. Relationships are transactional, not sacred. The human being is no longer seen as a soul, but as a consumer, a statistic, a market demographic. In doing so, modernity has declared war on Fitra. It has replaced contentment with ambition, humility with self-branding, patience with immediacy, and truth with popularity. It has taught people to question everything except the system itself. The way out, returning to divine currents. To escape the turbulence, we must change altitude. To escape the currents, we must re-anchor. To survive the system, we must disconnect from it and reconnect to what is real. This means returning to God's guidance, not as a cultural accessory, but as the central compass. The Quran does not offer temporary relief, it offers existential alignment. It does not bend to trends, it exposes them. It does not follow the winds of public opinion, it challenges them. By returning to a life rooted in dhikr, remembrance, sabr, patience, shukr, gratitude, tawakkul, reliance, and taqwa consciousness, the soul begins to reorient. The air clears, the water calms, the internal storm settles. One begins to recognize the tricks of the modern pharaohs and Nimrods who attempt to play God over creation. In a world of turbulence and shifting currents, it is tempting to drift with the wind or be dragged by the tide. But not all movement is progress. Not all trends are truth. Not all change is growth. The one who remains grounded in God, rooted in eternal principles, and anchored in prophetic wisdom, will feel the shaking, but not be broken by it. The soul is not meant to be tossed endlessly by man-made forces. It is meant to find peace in divine alignment. Let the skies rage and the oceans churn. The believer's course remains steady, guided not by the headlines of men, but by the light of revelation. That is the only way to stay afloat in a sinking world.